Okay, excuse me. This is going to be the continuation of the stream of consciousness. Um, part 1A. There was supposed to be a part 1B. However, I somehow goofily split the video that I had in two and then deleted the original version, thereby losing the second part, which was by far the smaller. I think it was 4 or 5 minutes only, in addition to the other part. But that's okay. I like to sort of consider those types of mistakes, accidents, etc., happy accidents or happy mistakes that were meant to happen. My philosophy there is basically people talk about fate or destiny, that sort of thing, and I tend to say, well, if it's meant to happen, then it happened. You know what I mean? Like, what's meant to be will be is a kind of a better one from my belief, because, things literally only happen in this timeline, in our reality, etc., as they do. And they only happen once, you know. So everything that happens was meant to happen. Why? Simply because it did, is a fair way of saying. So when things don't go the way that I wanted to, or was anticipating that they would, or, that sort of thing, I just sort of say, well, oh well. I guess that wasn't meant to be a thing, you know. I guess that video wasn't meant to be, the second part wasn't meant to exist, because it does not anymore. And that's okay. I talked about editing, and I don't really do any editing. By editing, I just meant chopping the video up. I don't really do, for any of my video logs, any cuts and edits beyond, sometimes making it into two more digestible sizes of video. Yeah, so that's, I like to mean what I say and say what I mean literally as much as possible. Openness of communication and honesty is something that I really strive for as much as possible, whenever possible. The only exception to that rule, I suppose, would be for your own privacy. It is perfectly acceptable to share less than the truth, or should you choose to invent some other truth for some random person to know. I certainly don't like doing that to close friends or significant others, but there is a time and a place, I suppose. Being overly open, feeling the need to share everything all the time in 100% transparency is too much. It's always good to, share what you want, when you want, how you want. None of that is untruthfulness or lying. Privacy is important. And yeah, I think people who tend to overshare and over explain everything all of the time, those tend to be like people pleasing behaviors. It's a bit much, and then can lead to some issues. Selflessness is another example of that. People who don't value themselves as much as they should and tend to please other people more than they worry about their own happiness, which is, a trait that is admirable. But again, the moderation middle path one comes up, where too much of anything is bad and zero of anything is often bad, I guess. So yeah, so we're here at Bannock. It's like, it said 10 days since I posted the last one. I mean, time flies. I know I had posted other things between then and now, but it was not meant to be this long. Not even close. There's some ducks cruising by here at Sullivan's. They're loving this. They like that rock. I saw a male kind of standing on the rock and sunning itself when there was sun. Not so much today, actually. Today's pretty cloudy and foggy here, but that's okay. We got the big old police geese, is what I like to call these guys down here. They're the cops. Make sure everything's in order. They kind of protect their turf, but they also protect all of the ducks as well. Any stupid human who, or animal I should say. I've seen dogs kind of come down there and try to mess with the ducks, and all of a sudden they're running away sometimes because of the geese are pretty fearsome. You'll more often see them messing with humans. I think dogs are a bit too smart most of the time to want to engage with the geese, because they are quite fearsome, actually. Very territorial and bigger than you'd think. Certainly fierce. But anyway, yeah, so this is the second stream of consciousness. I guess is 1B. I had been talking about a few different things, spirituality being one, the concept of the stream of consciousness being kind of like perception over time is basically what consciousness is described as, human consciousness, I guess. And the dream world is a very interesting wrinkle within that, because we are conscious in our dreams. It's just a different plane, I guess, a different realm even. The dream world is something else, and I tend to believe that it's actually the brain's way of processing whatever happens to us when we're awake. And it's a system where it's like a filter, I guess. The human brain takes in terabytes of data, like literally. If you consider not just what our mind thinks about, but, you know, all of our ears and eyes and, you know, all the physical world that we perceive, especially hearing. Hearing and seeing are the two biggest ones for that, but then there's, you know, tactile, and then there's also like the logical, like what do you think about what is happening? What do you think about, you know, what you see? And then, as we discussed, the three layers of perception, feeling comes first. So how we feel about things, I believe, is actually the primary function. Working through all of that is the primary function of dreaming. You know, it helps people to interpret, sift through everything that you might have thought about or didn't even know you were thinking about while you were awake. And I believe, there's lots of research behind this, but my personal belief is that, you know, that explains why if and when humans stay awake for a very long period of time, psychosis occurs. I'm talking about, like, you know, it's a form of torture, but a lot of people will stay awake for long times if they're doing drugs, or if they're experiencing mania, for example, or other mental health crises. Those people stay awake for long periods of time. But if you force an average person to stay awake for, I don't know, maybe 2 days in a row, a 48-hour period, they start to get really weird. Psychosis, hallucinations, moods, giant mood shifts. Basically, the brain really does not like it. And you could consider it like, compare it to, you know, a computer that's hard drive is too full, like really full. And if it tries to operate on a very full hard drive after being left on for a very long period of time, for example, it'll start glitching a lot. Try it with your cell phone. If your cell phone hard drive is full, it will not work very well. And the process of clearing memory, whether it be on the hard drive or the cache, as they would call it, which is more related to the RAM, or random access memory, of the device. If you don't clear that cache, if you don't, you know, make space on the hard drive, if you don't, you know, actively clear some of the random access memory on your machine, your phone or whatever, things start to go haywire. So that's kind of how I view sleep. It's like the brain kind of clearing the cache, and whatever dreams are, some people don't remember them at all. I tend to remember them more often than not, sometimes in vivid detail. which would be, well, lucid dreaming is something I do on occasion as well. Not all the time, and that's whereby you know that you're dreaming when you're dreaming. You're like aware of it, and then that awareness can kind of allow you to have control of what is happening in a dream, whereas most people, when they're dreaming, even if they're, conscious of the dream, are like a mostly passive experiencer of whatever dream it is. They're not really able to change things in their dreams or participate in an active way. So, yeah. When I wake up in the morning, I generally remember, especially recently, but over the course of my time as a human, many times when I wake up, it's a very vivid dream, but also I certainly remember most of it. And interestingly enough, as I have mentioned before, I think that, that early period in the morning where I'm kind of transitioning from waking up, and it takes me a while, usually a couple of coffees are involved, but, that hour or two, if I have the time and I like to make the time, I can write a lot differently than I would any other time of the day, a lot more creative, and it's sort of the process of interpreting whatever dream it was that I experienced, and the transition from the dream world to this world, reality, I guess, is, the time when I can do that. The other time I tend to be a little bit more creative is at night, which is also interesting. But, I used to say that the nighttime is my right time. I used to say that a lot. And these days it still is, or could be, but much more often for me that's the morning is the best time to do that. Anyway, we're 12 minutes again, so that's the part 2, or part 1B, I guess. It's kind of confusing. Part 2 was the first part that I put, where I was hucking rocks into the still water. I don't think I'm going to do that here. I don't really see anything I could throw in there as nice and peaceful as this water is. I guess we'll have to save that for another time. This wouldn't be the place to do it. I don't want to bother the ducks. They seem pretty chill and relaxed. There's this fella by the rock there. They're feasting. People often talk about rainy days like this as days for the ducks. It's when the worms come up. They seem to like it. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well, and we'll be checking back in not too long from now. Hopefully got some more music on the go soon, some more live recordings to share. I wanted to do so recently, but I've been busy doing other stuff. So soon though, that's a promise. Alright guys, take care. Bye bye.